Hey guys, this video is going to talk a little bit about something that I normally try not to talk about, but I've just had a sudden well of inspiration and it's going to come out and it's going to be gone afterwards, and I won't have to do this anymore. And I'm going to be talking about evangelism, Christianity, and literal interpretations, Bible, that topic. Very popular topic on YouTube. Video bloggers on both sides, and literally usually both extreme sides, duking it out through verbal spars. I'm not going to comment about that as much as offer sort of like a middle, third way interpretation. So, let me just start off with the main thesis. Science and religion are they're different things. They're related, but they're different. Now, modern science is even more different. If you look at what modern science does, it doesn't attempt to go in and discover meaning within, it attempts to describe things objectively. It tries to take a third-person point of view on the universe and tries to pick it apart and understand the elements and mechanics of the universe. Now, by even starting with that assumption, trying to be as objective as possible, you're automatically not even looking for meaning. You're not concerned about the insides of things. You're only concerned about the physical mechanics of things. So, of course, modern science, this is what modern science does, isn't going to have any kind of interior meaning except for what we give it. So, yeah, I mean, modern science isn't talking about belief in God, some kind of great meaning, or any of that. I mean, sure, after studying the exterior world, they can make a statement such as, there is no interior meaning. That's not a scientific statement. That is a philosophical statement based off of particular reasons which make sense to some people, but aren't necessarily a fact. Science doesn't look for interior meaning, it looks for exterior mechanics. And because of that, it's very difficult for science to, well, to give us meaning, really, to say anything about God, to even to this date say anything about the nature of consciousness, the conscious experience. We know it's related to the brain, but that's about it. Not that we won't eventually understand it, but I think when we do understand it, we're going to have to see it in a different light than the way we do now. All that being said, science is a study of the empirical physical world, without trying to interject meaning into it. The Bible is a study of many different things. Now, many people try to use the Bible like we try to use science, as something being physical, real, objective, all that. The Bible is not meant to be like that, not anymore. Yes, science has been able to disprove a lot of that stuff that's mentioned in the Bible. The stuff the Bible tries to cover about the physical universe is false. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other aspects to the Bible, inner meaning, meaning to all of reality. Why are we here? Why is existence existing? Um, I mean, these things science can't answer, obviously. You can only. I mean, ultimately, science thinks it can answer that, but I don't know about that. That's an assumption. Um, so, science is studying objective exterior stuff. If the Bible talks about that, which it does, if you take it literally, then yes, the Bible is mostly not making any true claims about reality. It was earlier claims to try to describe the universe the way it is. A lot of those claims are disproven, but any kind of interior meaning, science doesn't really have much to say about that. Either way. I mean, really, science is just understanding mechanics of the universe. So how could it say anything about God, or the nature of the origin of existence, or the nature of the experiencer, the observer? These things are off limits for science right now. So yes, this is my third way. This is the alternative. The alternative is to see the Bible as having meaning, and having potential meaning that could exist today. And also scientific exterior meaning. It's sort of like science is going to explain to you how to build a car, how to build a house, the nature of seasons, planets, physics, how to make this YouTube video. Science can do that. It can also describe many things about you and why you feel the way you do, evolutionarily speaking, etc. But as far as any kind of discerning any kind of interior meaning as like the base, like the big questions, why are we here? Why is anything anything? Why am I a conscious being? Why is there an observer in a universe that doesn't appear to have any kind of interiors? Yeah, these are big questions that science hasn't been able to answer yet. And I think it's safe to say that you have every right to believe that if you want, and still be a scientist. It's when these two fields try to reduce each other into each other, that's when the problems happen. When people try to use the Bible as a science of the empirical physical world, then that's a problem. When science tries to wipe out all interior meaning to existence, that's also a problem. It becomes a philosophical debate and not a debate about reality anymore. You have reasons for thinking it's reality, but these are arguable, debatable, and not necessarily facts on both sides. So I think it'd be much healthier if we just understood this. Science is not talking about interiors. It doesn't even acknowledge that they exist. It's just a study of outside surfaces of everything. It's worked very well because we live in a very mechanical, quote-unquote, universe. Very complex, but nevertheless, it doesn't mean there's nothing else. It doesn't mean there's more to it. It doesn't mean there isn't even higher dimensions of reality which religion may work better with. So these are all hypothetical. They're not necessarily grounded yet. But if you think intuitively that yes, there is something to the spirituality, there's something to God and all that, or nirvana, or bodhisattvas, all this stuff, if you think there's something to that, science doesn't say anything about it either way. That's kind of good. That means that debate has nothing to do with that. Because if you acknowledge this, if you're up to this part, then what are we going to talk about? I mean, where's the argument going to be? The argument is going to be when either side tries to overstep their bounds. A Christian may confront me and say, well, okay, I've heard your argument, I've heard your third way, but it can't be a third way, it has to be this way. And the scientist will be like, well, I've heard that, heard your argument. Well, it can't be that way. It is, in all likelihood, this way, because of all the evidence saying that there is no interior, etc., etc. But that's counterintuitive. Both of them are counterintuitive. Really, both of them are unrealistic to kind of ground ourselves in either direction. I think it'd be much better if we were more open-minded with each other and with our views. That way we can, number one, get along better and stop all this arguing, please. And two, I mean, stop overstepping our bounds. To acknowledge the limitations of science and to acknowledge the limitations of religions as they stand are okay. Limitations are alright. You can't extend a meaning to everything. That's alright. That's good. Look for other meanings. We're not so stuck as to not be so we're capable of a more dynamic thought process where we can see multiple meanings and see underlying patterns and see how they're all connected and not necessarily clashing. Just because something is a paradox, such as religion and science, doesn't mean they can't coexist, because they ultimately are. You ultimately have the experience of a universe full of meaning, not necessarily, and I'm not just talking about looking for patterns. I'm talking about just being an observer in a universe where there should be no conscious. I mean, we're made out of unconscious matter. How are we conscious? That's a big question. And this isn't necessarily irreconcilable with science. These are good questions. These are questions. These are the real debates. These are the real interesting statements and questions, and we can focus more and get more done by talking about that than we can about arguing back and forth between two stances, which to begin with are overstepping their bounds. And I think I'm done. So, thanks for listening, and hopefully this is the last video I'll have to make about this for now. Make a response video if you'd like, or a comment. Okay, thanks.